All right, welcome to Smokey's Footy Files. I'm your boy Jurnalist, and on this one, we are back after a very long hiatus. However, I've been watching the Euros this year. You seen what happened to Scotland? This is dirty refs. Because some calls should have been called. However, it's neither here nor there. I still don't know enough about the sport, but this has reinvigorated my interest back into football. And I seen this one, and I was like, this should work. This will be all right. So let's check this out. Thank you guys for joining me. Please do hit that like, subscribe. Patreon's in the description, and let's get into this.
In football, a forward's job is to score goals. A defender keeps the opposition attack away, and the goalkeeper is the last line of defense, preventing the ball from reaching the back of the net. Midfielders, however, basically do everything in between. They have to attack, do a little bit of defending, and, of course, control the play with their possession of the ball. But would you believe me if I told you that there was a midfielder who not only had an incredibly low work rate on the defensive side of the game, was incredibly unathletic, and didn't like to score goals, but also hated dribbling the ball? Imagine this, a midfielder who had all those attributes, but was so good at his job he would rarely ever lose the ball. A midfielder who'd receive the ball, take a few dribbles, if any, then pass it out. Because even when pressed by multiple opposition, somehow this unathletic and quote-unquote lazy midfielder was almost impossible to dispossess. Imagine Xavi in the 1980s who had a little too much of the green to smoke. Then just give him an insanely wild hairstyle, and you have arguably Colombia's greatest player ever, Carlos Valderrama, a master of a forgotten playstyle that came long before tiki-taka ever did. Toque, which comes from the Spanish word touch, and involved tiring and confusing the opposition by keeping the ball moving, passing it with your first touch whenever possible. Because like they say, playing football is very simple, but playing simple football is the hardest thing there is. With Carlos Valderrama being so commanding in the midfield with such a special presence that a young David Beckham absolutely...
Who's the boy on the German squad? I think he played for like Chelsea or something. That's just a monstrous passer, like such a good passer. I can't mind that cunt's name, but he's really good.
He admired him, with Ronaldinho even calling him one of the two only players he's ever admired in his entire life. However, despite his relaxed and carefree appearance, Carlos Valderrama grew up from a very different lifestyle from what you'd normally expect of a childhood prodigy. Because Carlos Valderrama grew up in the small beachside town of Santa Maria, Colombia. And as a kid, after leaving school, he would always go to the beach, playing beach football in the sand for hours and hours, even going on to hone his passing skill, despite threading the ball through the uneven and less than ideal sand. And when you think about beach football, you'd normally associate it with training and improving your dribbling and stamina. However, the young Carlos Valderrama, on the other hand, not only used it to develop his touch, but also the weight and accuracy of his passes. He was so talented that even before his teenage years, he would be scouted by local club Liceo Celedon, showing incredible talent that far surpassed anyone else in the region. However, Carlos Valderrama faced a significant challenge during his earlier years, an incredibly fiery temper. In school, he had a reputation for disrupting class, and on the pitch, whenever he would lose a match, he would constantly get incredibly angry, with his youth coaches finding it incredibly hard to keep his emotions in control. In fact, there was a time he was involved in a late-night altercation in which the teenage Valderrama found himself in a heated confrontation with a police officer, resulting in a violent clash where he actually gave the police officer a beating. This guy definitely had a dog in him. However, this event resulted in him going to jail for nearly 2 months. But perhaps his punishment was the best thing that could ever happen to the young Valderrama, as it was during this time of incarceration that he went through transformative reflection. The experience served as a catalyst for change, compelling the teenager to change and control his attitude, paving the way for a more positive trajectory in his life, and instead dedicate and focus everything into football. But I know, sometimes it's hard to keep your emotions in check. Like very few things irritate me in this world as much as not being able to watch my favorite content.
That's I'm sitting here for the commercial,
videos
man.
On YouTube
ain't giving me no money. And they're giving me no money, mate. No money.
Simply would watch the matches unfold. The idea of his fellow countrymen cheering for another team, simply due to his country's absence, was inconceivable for Valderrama. And that was the moment that he decided that his dream in football was to bring Colombia back to the World Cup. Because you have to remember, back in the 1980s and 1990s, before all of the desire of individual glory or the deep notion of playing loyally for any single badge or club, the pinnacle of footballing greatness was representing your country. And in just his first major international tournament, Valderrama would already make a huge step towards his dream. As in the 1987 Copa America, this underwhelming Colombia side with Carlos Valderrama at the heart of the midfield would absolutely shock the world as they would defeat a Diego Maradona-led Argentina 2-1 to finish the tournament at third place, with Carlos Valderrama himself being named the player of the tournament over Diego Maradona. And it was from that moment that the world would begin to know this incredibly unique-looking Colombian with a very interesting style of play, being so good and so impressive that he would land his first move to Europe, playing for no other than French side Montpellier in Ligue 1. And despite playing in a new continent with a much higher level of play, Valderrama would establish himself as the club's main creative force, because the performances he gave for his country in the Copa America that landed him the 1987 South American Footballer of the Year award would only further showcase itself. Because like I said, Carlos Valderrama had a complete mastery of toque, or one-touch passing, which generally speaking often shows a dislike for extensive dribbling. His focus was on controlling the game and possession through quick, precise passes and give-and-go maneuvers, certainly a predecessor for tiki-taka. And in a league where the playstyle was very different, often giving the chance to individual brilliance and dribbling, Valderrama with his different style and controlling the midfield allowed him to stand out and dominate the match, as he already had the exceptional ability to orchestrate the play without the need for frequent dribbling. And Valderrama always avoided unnecessary flair and preferred the efficiency of one-touch passes to maintain control of the ball. And despite his overall lack of athleticism and defensive work rate, Carlos Valderrama still managed to move the ball swiftly throughout the pitch, while also coming to aid his teammates.
I just think it's kind of crazy to call a nigga playing in high level of sports unathletic, because he plays such a traditional style of football, or like he just focuses on the fundamentals. Like, I just feel like that's just lazy. That's lazy writing to call him unathletic, because like that's not true at all. Like, he just prefers the fundamentals. It's like calling if you watch basketball, it's like calling Tim Duncan unathletic because he didn't have a really crazy handle, or Manu Ginobili unathletic because he ain't really have a crazy handle. Like, their game is based on fundamentals, and the game being based on fundamentals means it's not as flashy to the eye. But just because it's flashy to the eye doesn't make that shit athletic. That's not how that works. But a nigga playing with pure fundamentals around a bunch of flashy ass niggas makes him like hyper athletic. Is at least how I think about it. So when I keep hearing him be like kind of unathletic, I'm just like, are we talking about this? Like, are you sure you're talking about the right guy?
As the perfect outlet pass, and the guy almost never lost the ball, because while he didn't necessarily enjoy excessive dribbling, make no mistake, the man had elite ball handling, touch, and control. Because even with multiple defenders pressing him, they would still struggle to get the ball out of his control. Like, it's almost crazy to watch, seeing as Valderrama definitely lacked pace and agility, yet could still use his dribbling to maintain possession if he absolutely had to. Plus, the man was tough enough to fight the police, so even just trying to overpower him was incredibly difficult. So imagine yourself trying to dispossess an opposition player, thinking it'll be easy just because he lacks pace, agility, and you haven't seen him dribble the ball, only for you to find it almost impossible to dispossess him. And scoring goals was never Valderrama's primary focus. Instead, he took immense pleasure in creating and providing beautiful assists. His vision on the pitch allowed him to spot opportunities for his teammates, delivering passes that not only set up goals, but was where he really showed his artistic flair in the game. I mean, don't get me wrong, if the guy absolutely had to, or was in the perfect opportunity and position to do so, he'd definitely score goals. But the man just always preferred giving a beautiful assist rather than scoring his own goal. In fact, his time for Ligue 1 playing for Montpellier was the perfect embodiment of Valderrama's style of play, as during his time in the club, he would only score a total of 4 goals. And you know it's crazy when a midfielder who's absolutely disinterested in dribbling the ball or going for goal-scoring glory by himself was kept in such high regard by his teammates that former French defender Laurent Blanc would talk about his days with Carlos Valderrama, saying, "He was so gifted that we could give him the ball when we didn't know what else to do with it, knowing he wouldn't lose it. And often he would do things that most of us only dream about doing. And it was Valderrama's experience becoming an even better player in Europe that led to him captaining his team and achieving his dream of bringing his country, who had failed to qualify for almost 30 years, to the World Cup in 1990, leading his nation as the team's captain. And together with another incredibly unique and iconic Colombian player, Rene Higuita at goal, Colombia would finally be considered as one of the best squads in South America. And although they only reached the round of 16, which for some countries might even be a disappointment, for the Colombian people at least, Carlos Valderrama was an icon, a hero, and a living legend. And for the 1994 World Cup, Valderrama would once again lead his country to qualification, giving his team their biggest ever win against Argentina, with a historic 5-0 trashing. Then finally in 1998, he would conclude the most successful era in Colombian football history, bringing his country to their 3rd consecutive World Cup appearance. In fact, in 1998, Carlos Valderrama was so beloved and popular that he would feature on the cover of Pro Evolution Soccer. And while he may not have won the World Cup or Champions League, with his biggest piece of silverware only being a coup de France during his time in Montpellier, the reason why he was such a beloved footballing icon was simply because his only dream was to revive Colombia as a footballing nation from the ashes. Beyond club success, he wanted to resurrect the ambition that Colombia once had, inspiring countless young footballers to play not only for trophies or success, but for the pure love, honor, and dedication of the game, becoming the first Colombian to ever be inducted in the FIFA 100, winning 2 South American Player of the Year awards and a Copa America Golden Ball, while also holding a record in the MLS for most assists in a single season with 26.
Take nothing away from the people that actually play the sport. When I say this, it's only with the understanding of how the rest of the world plays the fucking sport. And the rest of the world has relegation. And the rest of the world actually plays the rest of the world. MLS just play MLS. Like, do we have people from the rest of the world coming into us? Sure. But the competition and parity within MLS is fucking laughable. Like, the fact that Messi won a Ballon d'Or while playing in the MLS, that's come on now. Like, are we saying that's kosher? I don't know. I'm new to this, so I don't know. But that does not seem too kosher to me. As an American, I just don't rate the MLS. Have I rated players that have played there? Sure. Freddie Adu, even fucking David, it's Beckham, yeah, David Beckham. Like, even Beckham playing in the MLS was cool. Like, I really fuck with some man, but like, was it Kobe Jones is his name as well? Like, I had a couple of niggas I used to fuck with MLS, but like, MLS is just not that thing. It's just not. It's not. But I could be wrong. So somebody let me know in the comments.
A record that he achieved at 39 years old. With his unique playstyle, iconic passion for the game, and wild appearance, Carlos Valderrama is a footballing icon that's incredibly difficult to forget.
Shout out to Big Carlo Valderrama. Shout out to my man. He was somebody that I'd never heard of. But when I seen this, and I was like, a midfielder who hated dribbling, I was like, somebody hates dribbling, and they didn't lose the ball. I was like, I'm in. And I figured this would be a good way for us to get back into the football thing. Shout out to Raymar Football for putting this video together. Really do appreciate his hard work. Thank you to anybody that's going to watch this with me, because I've not done a Footy Files in like over a year. But the Euros got man back a little bit inspired and intrigued and back into the football. So I said, let's get into it. So thank you guys very much for your time. Please do hit that like, subscribe, Patreon's in the description. And I'll see you on the next one. I'm out of here. Peace.